Hello, everyone. We welcome you all to our panel on the state and future of Turkey-Germany relations. And in fact, we will be discussing Turkey and Germany's relations, economic relations, and a new, fresh look and the new ways of cooperation as well, based on a paper presented by Edam and FNF Turkey. First, I would like to welcome our speakers and thank them, Can Selçuki, Ozan Demircan, and Ustal Şahbaz, for accepting our invitation and be with us today here. And then I will give the floor to Ronald, so you can make your welcoming speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Teşekkür ederim. İyi akşamlar. And to set the tone, guten Abend aus Istanbul. We're talking in a Turkish-German context, and iyi akşamlar, guten Abend is the introduction coming from myself. I am very thankful for having the possibility to share some thoughts at the beginning of this session, and let me thank the organizers, our friends and partners at EDAM, the Center for Economics and Foreign Policy Studies, to explain the abbreviation, Turkey's foremost independent think tank, for cooperating in this project, and also for putting together what I think is a very interesting panel, and also what I think is a very relevant topic. Special thanks to my friend, Can Selçuki, the lead author, researcher. And we should mention also Dilan Tulan, the associate who helped put this information into the paper. I would also like to thank the other discussants, and of course, last not least, very importantly, all those participants who have joined us from far and near. I mean, we have many occasions of uniting and coming together over digital platforms. Of course, you will say it's much better to meet in person, but one advantage this technology has is that it's rather simple to bring people together and to discuss at a distance. And I would like to thank all of you for choosing this option today. I know you have the possibility to go elsewhere, so thank you for joining. And I'm confident that in the end you will say this was worth the while. At Friedrich Naumann Foundation Turkey office, we are very pleased to deal with a project which is about relations between Turkey and Germany. This is no secret. The Friedrich Naumann Foundation, as the name says, is a political foundation from Germany. We are operating in Turkey. We are very grateful for the hospitality we enjoy to operate here. And those who know us also know that most of our activities have a clear, if not exclusive, Turkish focus only. Our partners are almost exclusively Turkish people, and so are the themes and the audiences. They are all Turkish. At the same time, and I like to emphasize this, at least in an indirect manner, of course, all our activities also have a Turkish-German and German dimension, and a dimension of Turkish-German partnership. If not for the sole reason, and as we're discussing an economic topic today, for in the end of the day, it's German taxpayers' money with which our educated programs are in the end of the day financed. Two comments regarding the German-Turkish relations in a more general way. They are very special relations. Some would say they are relations like no other. This relationship is without doubt, and I think we can all agree, highly relevant for both sides, for Turkey and for Germany. It is a relationship, and the paper shows this, which is intense and close. But at the same time, and we should also be aware of this, it is not free at times of tensions, and there's also stress in the relationship. So one may speak of a dialectic of cooperation and conflict. With the latter, the conflict, mainly in the political and in the diplomatic spheres, with possible and recurring spillover effects also into other areas. This is visible a little also in this paper. The focus of today's event will be the presentation and discussion of the research paper titled The State and Future of Turkey and German Relations, Assessment of Existing and Emerging Economic Relations by Can Selçuklu and Dilan Tulan. This paper is public. You can access it via the internet. It's available on the website of EDAM. Two further papers, and I wish to emphasize this, may I call it a mini-series on Turkish-German relations, which Naumann Foundation together with EDAM is organizing, will be made available soon. One is dealing with the political backdrop of these relations. The other one, I think, very exclusive with the strategic ties, the defense cooperation, and the political military agenda. And I think at the end of the session, we may announce that this will be sooner than later also published in an event similar to this one today. Considering the sheer volume and interaction of the economic theme, it is very, very relevant to talk about the economy. And the timeliness of this topic is also shown by the fact that, and Can is mentioning this in his paper, that later in this year we will commemorate the 60th anniversary of the bilateral labor recruitment agreement, which actually started what then became a movement of many Turkish people to Germany, first as Gastarbeiter, and now they are living there for many generations as citizens. These people, 3 million and more, today constitute a Turkish diaspora community in Germany. And they have become, as the authors rightly stress, if you want, one backbone of the bilateral economic relations. It is noteworthy, and this is my commentary about the book, about this research, that this topic and this sphere has tremendous, and this is a quote, potentials, and the authors mention a win-win situation in the bilateral economic relations. But at the same time, they do not miss to mention the challenges and point out also some dark spots. And we should also, of course, look at the challenges and the issues. So there's talk of a negative trend since 2019. Maybe we can have a closer look at what this trend is about and why it has occurred. And also, and this is another quote, a worsening risk perception of Turkey in Germany. This is my personal interpretation, and I'm arguing here as a representative of a liberal institute, would have to do with the sorrow state of the rule of law and various issues related to Turkey's human rights record, an issue which is high on the agenda also in these days, and we might touch them later on. My last thought, and very much grateful for your attention, ladies and gentlemen, is to stress that it has been a rewarding read for me, as it gives space to the idea that these relations have a great potential and many opportunities in the future. It's innovative in the sense that a lot of information is provided regarding potential fields of cooperation like renewable energy and green investments. This is a very important topic in Germany, and it's coming more and more important also in German international economic relations, and of course also in Turkey. And then a special section is dedicated to the startup companies, their ecosystems, and the contributions today and beyond. My last sentence is, I find it appropriate to mention that this all ends on a positive note. If we speak about economic relations, I see more positive notes and more positive potential than unlike in other areas of Turkish-German relations. In the economic field, there are certainly more chances. The good outpaces the negative. The chances outpace the challenges. And with this positive note, I would like to pass on the floor back to our moderator and say thank you very much. Thank you, Can, and thank you all the others for this contribution. And I'm looking forward to listening to your expertise. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Biz teşekkür ederiz. Thank you very much for your introductory remarks and you're welcome. Now I will give the floor to Can Selçuklu as one of the authors of the paper with Dilan Turan, and he will, after his speech, we will continue with Ozan and then Ussal. The virtual floor is yours, Can.
Thank you, Çiğdem. Hello, everyone. Let me first begin with my thank yous. Obviously, first to FNF Turkey, Dr. Maynardus and his team for supporting us in this research. I would also like to very much thank my co-author in this paper, Ms. Dilan Turan, who has been pivotal to the production of this analysis and ultimately the report. Actually, Ronald Bey sort of gave an overview of what the paper is looking into. I will go briefly over that as well, but then also focus on some areas that I think are important, and then perhaps leave the floor to Ussal and Ozan, and then maybe we can have a discussion. So, German-Turkey relations, whether be it on the human side or on the trade economy side, is unavoidable. I think that's the best way to describe Turkish-German relations on a number of aspects. And a lot has been said and done on the economic relations between two partner countries. Obviously, their partnership is one that extends well beyond the relationship between EU and Turkey. There is a very strong cultural connection between two countries that dates back quite some time. But what we try to do in this paper is to sort of look beyond what has already been done, the classic analysis that has already been done, and perhaps put forward some new areas of engagement for the two partners going forward. From this perspective, we focused on mainly, 3-4 areas. First, we did look at, typical trade relations, but for conventional sectors, what we tried to do was to identify sectors where, conventional industries, so to speak, where there's still room for growth between the partnership between the two countries. For this, we employed a revealed comparative advantage analysis and identified actually, some sectors where Turkey and Germany trade relation stands still to benefit. Second area that we want to look at was sort of take a look at the energy area. Energy, particularly renewable energy, cooperation in renewable energy, which is obviously, as you all know, is a priority investment area for Germany and for German corporations. And Turkey happens to be a very suitable country for our renewable energy investment. And the partnership there is still much unexplored. There's still a lot of potential there to be tapped into. Another aspect that we looked into, and which we are very excited about, quite frankly, when we talk about foreign direct investment of Germany in Turkey, we always think about huge corporations like Mercedes or Siemens, but this time around we wanted to look at how technology startup ecosystems might benefit from talking to each other. Obviously, Turkey has a very vibrant, startup ecosystem, and has in the recent years seen some very nice exits. and I'm sure Ussal will tell us much more about how the startup ecosystem can benefit from further cooperation. And obviously, while the EU and sets a nice framework for Germany-Turkey business relations, it's not the only framework, right? There are, through business associations and other non-governmental associations, Turkey and Germany are already in cooperation to a very large extent. So, and that's another area that we wanted to highlight. So this is sort of a general outlook of the paper. Where I want to focus in my contribution is to talk about a bit more on the more conventional trade areas, but also touch on some of the political tensions that actually are sort of creating obstacles for future cooperation. So let me begin by the customs union and where German-Turkish relations stand vis-a-vis the customs union. Obviously, Turkey and the EU have been in a customs union agreement since 1995. For better or for worse, both partners have benefited from this partnership. Many argue, and I would agree, that Turkey benefited more as the customs union not only opened new trading, new market for Turkish firms, but also because of all the quality enhancements and regulations that Turkish manufacturing has been subjected to over the past 20-25 years. The Turkish manufacturing really upgraded itself and became competitive not only in EU countries but also elsewhere in the world. So from a productivity gain perspective, I think the customs union have really benefited Turkey to a great extent and has enabled Turkey to upgrade its manufacturing base and become still the strongest manufacturing powerhouse in the region compared to its neighbors and also a broader MENA region. However, we also know that for some time now the customs union is not enough for two reasons. One, there are issues in enforcement that EU countries are complaining about mostly. The complaint is on the EU side that some parts of the customs union is not being enforced. There are issues pertaining to dispute resolution in particular, but also going forward, the scope of customs union is not enough as well. Because as you know, the current customs union agreement between Turkey and the EU covers only manufactured goods and processed food products, but not services and agriculture. But all studies actually, and we refer to this in our study, actually show that both sides gain to benefit from a deepening and modernization of the customs union. So how does this bring us to Turkey-Germany relations? I want to first give an overview of customs union agreement. Well, the Germany was sort of blocking the dialogue between Brussels and Ankara in terms of starting talks about modernization and deepening of the customs union. But that stance seems to be changing since October 2022, where our German partners have become closer to the idea that these talks actually can begin. These negotiations can actually begin, and Turkey actually reciprocated that by its policy choices in the Mediterranean. So it seems like there is once again an opportunity to going forward to start talking about the customs union. And I think it's very important because given the Turkey-EU relations, if you remove customs union from that conversation, Turkey and the EU has no positive agenda to carry their conversation further. So as it stands, if Germany sort of relaxes its stance on Turkey going into talks with the EU about the deepening and modernization of the customs union, it actually stands to restart the talk between EU and Turkey, because, as I said, customs union is the only remaining framework under which EU and Turkey can engage in a positive dialogue. And I think this actually fits well with the renewed, revealed at least, position of the Turkish government that says renewed look on re-engaging with the EU. And as soon as yesterday, 2 days ago, we have seen a new human rights package being announced by President Erdogan. So from this perspective, I think Germany is at a very critical position to sort of jumpstart Turkey-EU dialogue on a positive note. So this is the political side of the sort of the political economy of Turkey-German relations regarding the customs union. On the other hand, what we did was we did a analysis, because a lot has been said on conventional trade relationship between Germany and Turkey. We sort of try to steer away from that discussion, not to repeat what has already been said, and we sort of wanted to provide with a fresh look or an updated look on that. And it turns out, when we did the revealed comparative advantage analysis, it turns out that in the conventional industries, Turkish-German trade partnership benefits, stands to still benefit, not only in more low value added industries, but also in more higher value added industries such as car manufacturing and machinery. So when we say that all has been said and done under classical trade conventional industries, that's not necessarily the case. Germany and Turkey still, that partnership has still room to grow in conventional industries. So I think the two partners would benefit from re-engaging on these issues, and both sides stand to benefit. So let me perhaps stop my intervention here. I have provided with an outline of the general outline of the paper and what we've tried to do. Obviously, recent times have seen some rather negative developments vis-a-vis FDI from Germany. We need to also talk about that, I think, particularly the decision of Volkswagen to divert its investment from Izmir, I think, has been a most disappointing point between the two countries' long-standing investment and trade relation. But going forward, I think both sides need to work on this. And it seems to me that the Turkish administration, at least in rhetoric, have reiterated their interest in engaging with EU. So I hope this actually does materialize, and we see this important investment coming back to Turkey. But aside from cars and electronics, there's a huge potential in startups and collaboration between the two ecosystems. I find it most inspiring that a vaccine was actually found by two German citizens with Turkish origin. I think this actually speaks in itself to the unavoidability of the relationship and the positive fallout of the relationship between the two countries. So let me stop here. And over to you, Çiğdem, and I will be happy to contribute to the discussion going forward.
Thank you, John. I don't want to interrupt the flow for now. I will just keep my questions to myself. I have some questions in my mind when I was reading the paper, things related to the Green Deal or the and your emphasis on research and development and innovation was most interesting, and how it can be increased in Turkey. I have some questions related to that too, but I will just keep my questions to the end, and I will just turn to Ozan Demircan now, and floor is yours, Ozan.
Thank you, Çiğdem Hanım, and thank you, Can Bey, for both the introduction and the first overview of the paper. I've read the paper with great interest. As a business correspondent for a German newspaper working in Turkey, this is exactly the field I'm working in, so I'm always happy for input, for good research, and Can Bey, as you also said, research which is a bit apart from the mainstream, as I said, with your focus on Green Deal, new technologies, on the startup ecosystem. So thank you very, very much for this contribution. It helps me a lot also in my work. Now, I would like to talk in my part and emphasize in that on the Turkish-German trade associations and the consortiums. Actually, as both Dr. Meinardes and also Can Bey, as you have pointed out in your speeches, the Turkish-German economic relationship is long-lasting for decades, and it's a very diverse and a very complex relationship. Dr. Meinardes, you said there are relations like no other, and I think it's very true. And I think that's mirrored in the fact that there are a lot of Turkish-German trade associations, and I would like to give you some names now so that you can see how many organizations exist. There's, first of all, I would say the Turkish-German Chamber of Commerce, AHK, which has a big office here in Istanbul and also an office in Ankara, by the way. And they, first of all, they try to gather the business of both sides, of both countries. So companies from both countries can become a member in this business and trade association. And then on the Turkish side, I think what we should point out is DEG, the Foreign Economic Council, a Turkish council, and they have a Turkey-Germany Business Council. By the way, one of the chairmen is Stephen Young, who is an Australian citizen and who is working in Turkey for the German industry giant Bosch. So you can see how diverse this ecosystem is. And then, of course, last but not least, there's TOBB and also TÜSİAD, who have special working groups and a special business association who only deal with the Turkish-German trade relation and the economic relation. So my thoughts are what you can see is the Turkish-German business engine is well equipped with oil for a very smooth relationship. However, as we say in German, there's a lot of sand in the gears all the time. So as much as you would think, yes, we have a very long-lasting economic relationship. We have these business associations. We have the lobbying. We have frequent visits of ministers from both countries to the respective other country. However, or I, in my work as a journalist, I often come across a lot of problems that actually hinder a good Turkish-German business relationship. The divestment of Volkswagen last year has already been mentioned. I can give you another example from the logistics industry. You cannot imagine. Every day there are hundreds and thousands of trucks from Turkey who make their way to the European Union, to the Schengen area, especially to Germany. And very often they are not able to cross the borders to the Schengen area because the authorities in these countries hand out a transit visa for the truck drivers, like only 4 visa per hour, for example. Or they say, yeah, per year we only print. That's the case in Greece, if I remember correctly. Sorry, in Hungary, they print only 36,000 transit documents, but there are around 100,000 trucks who would like to bring goods from Turkey to mostly to Germany. And as I said earlier, as much as actually the conditions, the preconditions, they are so good for a good and well-established Turkish-German relationship with the business associations, with the huge Turkish diaspora living in Germany, and 7,500 German companies operating in Turkey with German managers, with Turkish managers, with workers from both countries, and with a lot of intelligence, actually. However, there are these non-tariff barriers that are hindering a good Turkish-German relationship. And then, as it has been mentioned before, there's also the political dimension. And I would call this a non-tariff barrier as well, because it's not an official barrier, but as we can see and as we experience it in the past, very often politics is often a huge barrier and can be a very, very big obstacle for prosperous business relations. And we've seen that, for example, when Germany criticizes military actions by the Turkish government, and in the following step stops exporting weaponry, for example. I know that's a tough topic, but as a matter of fact, it's politics hindering the economic relationship. On the other side, there are examples as well. So I don't want to talk too much about details. Maybe my last contributions. I think there's a very, very big potential for an even bigger and more dense Turkish-German business relationship. What both countries and both governments, in my view, have to learn first is to unplug, the economic relationship from the political relationship. And with regards to what Can Bey just said and mentioned in his brilliant paper, a prospective relationship regarding green technologies, new technologies, startups, I would say it's even more important to unplug these developments and these new kinds of business relations from the current political relations between the two countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do have some questions to you regarding the customs union and the modernization and how we can go forward with that. But again, I am going to leave that question to the end, and we'll turn to Ustad Shahbaz. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about the cooperation in technology startups. When we say technology startups, I know it still sounds to the larger community something like that kids are engaging in, but that's not the case. That's not the case for Germany, nor that's the case for Turkey. If you look at the numbers, if we are talking about foreign direct investment, in the last 2 years, some of the largest deals in Turkey were startup exits. For example, 2 years ago, in 2019, EasyCo's exit was the third largest M&A deal in Turkey, including Turkish and foreign investments. Last year, Peak Games exit, and EasyCo was a fintech. I'll come to that shortly, the German connection. Last year, in 2010, Peak Games exit was the largest investment, the largest M&A deal in Turkey, over $1 billion. So these companies are actually some of the main forces that are driving the foreign direct investment in Turkey, as well as in other countries. So the startup ecosystem collaboration is quite important, and it is already happening between Turkey and Germany in different layers. I myself have been to Germany with regards to startup events a few times. One was in Munich in DLD, which has a big Turkish contingency already. And the collaboration is taking place, as I said, in a few layers. One is the old diaspora, old Turkish diaspora layer, the third generation Turks or the second generation Turks who have been educated and established careers in Germany are coming back to Turkey and starting companies. One example is EasyCo, as I said. It's a fintech company. It's the largest payments company in Turkey, and it has been one of the most successful exits so far, as I mentioned. The founders are two Turkish Germans. They still hold German citizenship, and interestingly, they have been to Istanbul after 20 years when they were 35 years old to start this company. So they had little connection to Turkey other than their families. They speak in German between themselves at the moment, but they started and established one of the largest and most successful fintech companies here. They also important elements of German working culture, and I'm also consulting to them, and when I speak with their staff, some of these German touch, let's say, in the company has been quite effective in attracting talent within Turkey. So it's a preferred location for younger, startup enthusiasts to work at. Another example is Sina Afra. He's a prominent investor here. He started an e-commerce company like 10 years ago, Markafoni. He was also a second generation Turkish German. His father was a diplomat, so it's not workers who went from Anatolia to Germany. But still he was educated and he had a career in Germany and came back, and he still keeps the connection. Some of his investors in Markafoni was actually German angels. So there are many examples like this. This is the first layer. The second layer has been developing in the last 5 to 7 years, and these are Turks who have technical education in Turkey, young Turks who are now immigrating to Germany. And this is a very large group. For example, one of my friends, İşbecer Brothers, they had a very successful fintech company, Comensis, which they exited a few years ago. They established a software studio in Berlin because they said half of our former staff now immigrated to Berlin. So we want to work with them. Why don't we start something in Berlin instead of Istanbul? Because it's the people that we know and they are Turks and they want to work with us. They actually, these new generation of Turkish immigrants have closed Facebook groups, which they don't admit the Gastarbeiter. They want to isolate themselves in Germany. And they established a new world of immigrants. I think this new generation will create much stronger linkages in terms of the startup ecosystem because they have already been in it in Turkey. They are now in Germany, and one day they will come back, either as entrepreneurs or as investors. So this is the second layer. Of course, the third layer is exits, where Turkish startups exit to German companies. It could also be vice versa. We didn't see that yet, but for example, one of the largest Turkish exits, Yemek Sepeti, was to Delivery Hero, which is a German company and which has food delivery operations all around the world. I think Yemek Sepeti probably is their largest operation in one country. And I think we'll see more of these exit examples as well, bringing German capital to Turkey. So there are different layers of collaboration. And as I said, this is critical in terms of establishing long-lasting relations, economic relations between two countries. I think from a policy point of view, if we talk about how can we improve this, one important element is within the customs union agenda. When we talk about modernization, the single digital market should be the top priority, because through the single digital market, Turkey will import the regulations of the EU to the digital area, which similar to what John described for the manufacturing sector, which will encourage Turkish digital industry to upgrade to a global standard in terms of the regulations that they obey. And since EU is the leading jurisdiction around the world in terms of the digital regulations, once you catch up with the cutting edge regulations around, in the EU, you actually catch up with the cutting edge regulations in the world. So that's an important opportunity for Turkey. And I think it is also important for Turkey when the digital nationalization or the digital sovereignty conversations are, this noise is getting high, especially from the official channels. I think it is very important for Turkey to keep this international perspective, and the only way we can do it is through the EU collaboration. So if we are, talking about increasing these startup and digital linkages, the reflection in the policy world will be Turkey, adopting the single digital market standards as soon as it can, and making this a key element in the customs union modernization conversation.
Thanks, Emilian. So now I have some questions to all our speakers. Once again, I would like to say that I really enjoyed reading the paper, and there were lots of questions that came to my mind when I was reading each paragraph, let's say. And I would like to start with John, the same order that we had the speeches. John, in the paper, this is a comment rather than a question, maybe, but I would like to get your opinion as well on this. In the paper, you are talking about, you and Dilan you talk about Turkey seeking new sources of productivity growth from research and development and innovation. But we know that for research and development and innovation, we need to stop the brain drain from Turkey to focus more on this type of economic growth. So maybe this related to what you mentioned, President Erdogan gave a speech about the human rights, strengthening of the human rights in the country. So these two things, this orientation, trying to have more research and development and innovation in the economic growth, and the political side, the social side of the policies, may be going hand in hand or maybe those two things are started to be taught together the political circles. That's what I thought when I read your paragraph on that. And but then in the part where you were talking about the competitiveness of Turkey, that I think I did write it down. Turkey's strong manufacturing base and relatively developed human capital is an added value when it comes to the competitiveness of Turkey. What would you think the Green Deal would have an effect on this competitiveness? Do you think that Turkey needs to change its manufacturing production schemes in order to continue to be competitive in this field? Floor is yours.
Çiğdem, thank you. First, let me tell you something about the brain drain in Turkey. From an investment perspective, the brain drain is probably a good thing for Turkey, and I'll tell you why. Because,
please do.
Turkish people going to Europe are likely to be part of investment back into Turkey. So we don't have empirical evidence to this yet, but I'm not saying brain drain is a good thing, but if you think about, European country firms, coming to Turkey for investment, it will probably have a positive impact, I would say. But overall, obviously, it's not good for Turkey. But that aside, I think the Green Deal that's being discussed in EU right now is of fundamental importance to Turkey. Because, as you know, Ursula von der Leyen said, it's not only about making things green. She, in her December 2019 speech, if I remember correctly, she said this was the landing a man on the moon moment for the EU. So this is how, and it's a new industrial strategy. It's a new growth strategy for the EU. So it's not only about being climate aware, adding a climate component to to the mainstream, what's happening in the mainstream manufacturing right now. It's actually transforming the entire manufacturing based production base within the Green Deal perspective. So from here, I think it's also a very fundamental issue for Turkey, and is an area where Turkey can actually, if it chooses to jump on board with this Green Deal, Turkey can actually transform its own production manufacturing base, upgrade its technologies. But as TEPA Director Güven Sak recently wrote, for a country like Turkey to talk about Green Deal at this point is like shopping from Whole Foods for a lower income household, right? It's a bit it seems like a luxury item for the time being, but for the exact kind of productivity upgrade that Turkey needs right now, that will come from within a sector, within industry, within firm productivity growth that Turkey needs, it actually needs to embrace, try to actually find ways to embrace the Green Deal of the EU. And not only does Turkey need to do that, but I think there's also a threat that's coming in the near future that not many people are aware of, and that is with the requirements of the new Green Deal, the customs union will no longer be sufficient, because the Green Deal brings about new requirements for the industry, which are obviously not covered by the customs union because there was no such perspective at the time being. So it's not only that Turkey should embrace the Green Deal, but Turkey has to embrace the Green Deal if it wants to deepen and modernize the customs union with the EU going forward. So thank you for actually asking this question. I think it's maybe, let me do some criticism. Maybe we should have focused more on this in our paper, but at the end of the day, we were not looking at Turkey-EU relations, but we were looking at Turkish-German relations. But it's not a nice-to-have situation for Turkey. It has to sort of find a way to get into the Green New Deal. This is not only a mandatory course of action from a Turkey-EU relationship, but also, the world, as the WTO sort of multilateral regime has exhausted its ways to find a global consensus, it appears that we will be back on, with the exception of the Trump era, let's say, the discussion between, a renewed transatlantic trade deal or a Pacific deal is back on the agenda. And from this perspective, also Turkey needs to anchor itself to a body with larger negotiating, bargaining power, which is obviously not the Shanghai Five, but the EU. So from that perspective, also Turkey has to sort of embrace the Green New Deal. But there is work that needs to be done on the EU side as well. Like I said, if you're a low-income household, embracing the Green New Deal is like trying to shop at Whole Foods, or trying to buy your food organic. It's just not done. And these are not my words. It's TEPA director Güven Sak's analogy, which I agree with. So there's also a job for the EU to do here in helping Turkey, upgrade its manufacturing, its skills, its manufacturing, its technology to become a part of the Green Deal. And there, at that nexus, I think the renewable investment perspective of Germany and Turkey really overlap in a very functional way, because Germany wants to invest and Turkey wants to receive that investment, and Turkey, as I said, happens to be very suitable for this investment. So I think the growth of the investment relationship in the renewables fits very well in the broader Green Deal agenda of the EU. And, Turkey needs to understand that this is not about adding a green component to the mainstream growth strategy of the EU. This is actually the growth strategy of the EU going forward.
The whole strategy is changing in the
Exactly.
European Union. So it is not only like as if signing an agreement saying that you are going to go green, but you need to be fully engaged in this whole economic and maybe production.
It's not about replacing your light bulbs with 50% efficient energy efficient light bulb. It's about transforming the whole growth strategy.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for all the insight. And I will just turn to Ozan Bey now. I would like to get his view about the customs union and the perception of maybe the associations or the business world, and whether we see that modernization of the customs union is a possibility, or whether the Turkish-German partnerships among the business people can help this to be achieved or not. Are there any enthusiastic actors to really modernize the customs union from both sides, and can we achieve this, do you think?
Thank you, Çiğdem Hanım. Yeah, you used the word enthusiasm, and I think there are a lot of enthusiastic actors who would always favor an updated customs union. However, my point is that I think we should not think of an updated customs union as an end in itself, because there are still a lot of barriers that should be overcome before we start thinking about an updated customs union. And I would like to make 2 points. The first one is what I hear from the business world, both from the German side and the Turkish side, operating in both respective countries, is that they tell me we're not even able to enhance and sort of use in a comprehensive way the customs union 1.0, so the actual customs union, which is existent since 1995. And what they say is what I also mentioned earlier, that there are still a lot of non-tariff barriers and obstacles that should be overcome before we start thinking about an updated customs union. The second is the customs union says that there are no quota, that there are no tolls, etc. However, for some key areas, and agriculture is one of these key areas actually, there are still very high restrictions. I don't want to go too much into detail. My point is for this topic, for this part is before the decision makers sit down and start talking about an updated customs union, I think it would be necessary to find ways to fully enhance, to fully use and make use in a comprehensive way of the current customs union. I'm sorry. And the second one is, as always, sadly, in the German-Turkish or in the wider European-Turkish relationship, including the business relationship, is that something like the customs union has become very politicized, especially recently in the past years. And I would like to illustrate why I think this is wrong with actually the European Union as an example. So after the Second World War, there was nothing like a European Union, but the first construct, the first organization that has been founded was the European Community for Steel and Coal. And as the name suggests, this was a pure economic cooperation, meaning through economic cooperation, we can find these spillover effects that Dr. Meinardus has mentioned earlier in his speech as well. And from this economic cooperation and from these spillover effects that economic partnership can bring, we can start thinking about a deeper political integration. But what's happening these days between Brussels and Ankara, and also between Berlin and Ankara, is actually the opposite. The customs union and also a possible update of the customs union is used as an instrument or as a tool to ask for other contributions, for example, from the Turkish side. As in, we will only talk about an updated customs union only if the Turkish side does this and that. I think this is the wrong direction. I think the customs union, both the current version and a possible updated version, would be actually a very good platform for further political integration. But an update of the customs union should not be tied to political integration as a first step. Thank you. I hope this answers your question.
And thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, John, please. I saw your hand.
Say something. Barçın Yinanç actually wrote from YouTube. She says that Turks in Germany do not like the term brain drain, but prefers brain gain, which I like very much. So
Yeah,
I think
it is nice.
gain has a much more positive sound to it. So thank you, Barçın, for this contribution. So let's use brain gain from now on.
Let's use brain gain. Yeah,
perspective.
Yeah, it has a more positive, most positive sound, and it in fact supports your perspective as well in a way. Yeah, thank you. I was going to ask Ozan Bey to you whether the new economic policies, the change of the economic policies in Turkey recently had a positive effect on the business environment. we talked about like there is a need for more of a trust, and in the paper also it is being mentioned, the trust aspect of the relations. So, and recently we have seen a change in the economic policies in Turkey as well. How was this perceived from the business people?
Mm-hmm. What I hear from the business world, especially from the German side, including the associations, is until sort of 2011, until 2012 maybe, there were a lot of German investors coming to Turkey without even asking for the risks. They just said, okay, we want to open a factory, we want to open an office. How can we do that? Where should we go? And they didn't ask if it's possible to make money and a good business, but they just asked where they should go to make that good business. This has changed entirely for several reasons, perception reasons, also events that happened in Turkey and the wider region, the civil war in Syria, the refugee crisis, the terror attacks, political implications within Turkey. So this picture has changed entirely now, especially investors, or let's say companies and organizations that have not yet been active in Turkey. They are very fearful. They don't know how to analyze the Turkish market, and they tend to not invest into Turkey. Volkswagen is a very big, but not the only example of that. On the other hand, what I hear from German companies who are already operating in Turkey, and many of them are operating here for decades, sometimes even for more than a century, they say they are aware of the risks. Let's say it like this. But these risks do not make them divest their investments and their engagement in Turkey. So there's a double picture, a two-sided picture that I can share with you. I think Can Bey and also Usal Bey can talk more about startups and the startup ecosystem. But for the classical industries, I can tell you that there's this two-sided picture. One side has become very fearful, while the other side is well established, aware of the risks, and also much aware of the possibilities of the Turkish market.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments and the insights. And now, as our final speaker, I will turn to Usal Bey. When I was reading the part of the paper related with the startups and the a fresh look on the new cooperation areas, etc., I was thinking about the education that we give in Turkey, that we are still maybe focusing on the traditional classical trade relations or the classical economic activities when we are teaching our younger generations. Would you think that we should change some of our education policies, maybe give more space to our younger generations to be creative, to bring their maybe visions or dreams into real life when they were students? Would that help with more activities in the new economic era with the startups and so on? Your microphone is...
Okay. Yes, of course, but in the long run. So, I mean, we need short run and long run perspectives on developing entrepreneurship. I think in the short run, we are bound with the human resources that we have, which is not really bad. From a technical perspective, we are quite strong, although we lost much of our talent to Germany, as I said, in the recent years. Still, there are software developers in Turkey. In terms of entrepreneurial talent, again, I think there is no shortage of entrepreneurs in Turkey. What we really miss is this, new type of human resource where, different talents and interdisciplinary perspectives come together. You know, a software engineer with knowledge of culture and music and an entrepreneurial attitude, something like this, who would
more
start
interdisciplinary.
exactly, who would start the next Spotify. So we don't have that. And you know, in the long run, as you said, if the educational system can respond to this need, I think that would be great. Although I would say, you know, I'm not an expert on education policy, obviously, but there are not many countries in the world who can, you know, respond to these needs. So it's not easy. It's easier said than done. I think, you know, when you know, talking about fixing the education system, we should start by fixing the basics first. We are not there yet. I think it is. I mean, it is getting even worse compared to 10, 20 years ago in terms of the quality of the basic education. So these things may sound like luxury when we talk about you know, an education policymaker. So yes, it is important, but you know, in the long run.
Thank you very much. But I suppose, like even just to keep this in our mind, so that as the educators, maybe ourselves should be always kept up to date as well, that we are not maybe aware of the novelties in the field, so we cannot really reflect that to the younger generations as well. So maybe we should, as educators, always kind of update ourselves new and open to new technologies as well. And I realized this with the pandemic. Now we have to learn about the online education systems, etc. It became so difficult for us, and then I realized that we are in fact so backwards when we compare ourselves to our students. So as the educators, we should think about these things too. Thank you very much. So I thank all of our speakers, really insightful. I will turn to Ronald Miner does now, and then I will give the floor for a wrap up to him. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Chidam. I really don't know where to start, because I think this is an incredibly instructive and educative exercise we're doing here. And thank you also, madam, for keeping us somehow in the flow. As an educator myself, Friedrich Naumann Foundation, in the end of the day, is an institute of adult education. So therefore, I'm very happy if I attend activities which are educative and informative, and activities which bring out new aspects. And all of the speakers, I think, have brought out, for me at least, new aspects. And I myself, who has been many times in Berlin and who is very fascinated by the Turkish diaspora there, am very impressed by what Usal says, that there's a new kind of Berlin diaspora, which is dissociated itself from the traditional Gastarbeiter diaspora. If I were a young anthropologist, I think that's where I'd put my nose in and check that out and see how this is working out. We're living in a very dynamic environment, and this generation is really having an impact on things. And as we see, and as you are alluding to, potentially with a very, very strong impact also on Turkish-German relations. I think this is absolutely fascinating, so thank you for this. And then, of course, Can, your emphasis on the Green Deal, and I will get back to that in a little while. I think this is where we have to look, this is where we have to go. And if I am correct, I think this will also be one focus of the cooperation of EDAM and Friedrich Naumann Foundation in 2021, that we look into this and that we also do some more research on this. But I'll get to that back in a little while. And then, of course, Ozan, I'm not surprised, he as the business correspondent for the leading German business paper in Turkey, that he will give us insight of the thinking of the German investors and business community. And I'm very happy that also a wider Turkish audiences and international audiences can partake in this. And I'm very grateful for him to share these perspectives. I've put here in my little note, and the moderator asked me to somehow summarize our debate, which is very difficult, but I've put as a headline the word nexus. The word nexus, of course, in a world where everything is connected, this is quite a banal way of doing it, but I want to elaborate what I mean by nexus. And Can, I caught you saying, and I thought this was very, very typical for what we're talking about, when you said just a little while ago, somehow almost apologetic. We're not looking at Turkish-EU relations, but we're talking at Turkish-Germany relations. But if you look at what we were talking about, and if you would have taken the time, you would have noted that we spend most time actually talking about Turkish-EU relations. And this is indicative, and it's a proof of how much Germany has become European. Some guys would say how much Europe has become German. I would not support this, but you know what I want to say. So Germany being a very powerful factor in the European Union. And this is, of course, spilling over, to use another word. It's spilling over. And so I took you there by the word. We were looking indeed at Turkish-German relations, but it would not be possible to make any sense of this without having in mind the Turkish-European relations and more particular Turkish-EU relations. I'm really grateful, Can, for also you mentioning that also regarding the German politics, and I say politics of it, there is a dynamism in this. There has been a recent, if I may call it this way, a change in strategy in Berlin regarding the German position on the customs union issue. And I think it's highly relevant to mention also that this is related to the evolving situation in the Eastern Mediterranean and to the Greek-Turkish, Turkish-Greek-Cyprus issues. This from a political science perspective, and I'm looking at this from an analytical point, is I think very, very interesting. One of the nexus I will spend a moment on, if I may, Chigdem Hanem, is the Green Deal. And you compared it to landing on the moon moment. I would like to quote the not so new ambassador of the European Union in Ankara, Ambassador Maya Landrut, who by coincidence or not is a German national, who was the other day saying that for the European delegation, the climate change is more serious an issue than is the COVID. And to say this at a time when everybody is only talking about COVID and vaccines is a very powerful statement, I thought. And it somehow fits into the analysis and the strategic talk we're doing here. And what Can says that this is really a great game changer. And I really liked also the connectivity of the whole things, that in the end of the day, this all fits together. Turkey has to embrace the Green Deal if it wants to modernize the customs union. So you cannot talk about an updated customs union without investing into environmental technologies. And then you have the German renewable investments, Germany as one of the leading producers of this stuff. And then you have exactly the win-win-win scenario, which was emphasized, I think, in the introduction of this report. The second and my final basic thought is the nexus. And I say this as a political scientist, and I think it's interesting that we have we have a diversity here also of positions as a political scientist and a political analyst, is the nexus of the policy economy thing. I mentioned this earlier when I was quoting Can with this East Med Germany positioning of mediating and using basically the customs union as a carrot to somehow, should I put it journalistically, to somehow entice the government in Ankara to behave well in the Eastern Mediterranean. Okay. And it seems to have worked out. Then you may also call this a win-win. Whether this will be sustainable or not, the coming weeks and months will show. So this is a clear nexus, politics and economy. Ozan Bey was also so mentioning this, and then he was giving us the historical perspective and saying that there has been spillover effects from the economy to the politics, and now it's politics spilling over to the economy. And the customs union is used as the leverage. I think with the politicization of relations in the European Union, and with all these issues at hand, these regional and bilateral conflicts, it will be very hard. It will be very hard to overcome this. And to assume that we're living in a paradise world where this will not happen and where we will not use these leverages. But in principle, and this is a liberal perspective, of course, and I would like to end my observation with the liberal perspective. Of course, we believe that interacting economically should, as much as possible, be not affected by political intervention. And we believe that the European example, as European Union, as a European community developed, with not too much politics interference, is a very good practice. And maybe the young entrepreneurs, the brain gainers in Berlin, the diaspora, are an instrument there to move this ahead. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and also thank you very much, Çiğdem Hanım, for putting this into a framework. Çok teşekkür ederim.
We thank you for your comments and insights as well. Once again, I would like to thank all the speakers. You gave your time and you gave your comments to us. Thank you very, very much. As Ronald Maynard just said, the mini-series will continue with the political aspect and the defense aspect of the relations in the coming days. So there will be papers on them, and then there will be discussions. John, please go ahead.
One final word of thanks to maybe EDAM Secretary General Zeynep Başaran, who is at the back.
I was just coming to that.
I'm sorry. I wanted to do that as well, because she is the unseen hero behind this. So sorry, Çiğdem.
No problem. And yes, we would like to thank the EDAM team and Zeynep, the General Secretary, who brought us together. And thank you all, and hope to be together next time, maybe not virtually, but face-to-face if everything goes well. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.